Hello children, welcome to today's class. Hope you all are safe, healthy and fine at home, and a lot of learning is going on these days while you're enjoying your holidays. In the last class, we tried to learn about tenses and we had tried to focus on the present tense. We also tried to learn the different uses of verbs or the different forms of the verbs you will be using while making use of different tenses. Now today let's focus on the past tense. Okay, as I had told you, the past tense also has got its 4 different forms. The simple past, past continuous, the past perfect, and the past perfect continuous. Children, if you remember the table which we had looked into in the last class, when we just tried to have a glimpse of all the 3 different tenses, you might remember the different forms of verbs we tried to use with the different forms of the present tense and also the past and the future. But still, let us quickly look into it again and try to understand clearly about the past tense in today's class. So in the simple past tense, okay, we know that the simple past tense, the formula would be the subject plus the second form of the verb. Okay, for example, he wrote a letter. So here wrote is the second form of the verb write. The 3 forms would be write, wrote and written. So when we are talking of the simple past tense, that means an action that has happened in the past. Okay, we will be discussing it in detail after some time, but when we are looking at the formula, okay, subject plus second form of the verb. Now wrote is the second form of the verb write. So this is a simple past tense. Subject plus second form of the verb plus the object, right? He wrote a letter. Now past continuous, subject plus was or were plus verb plus ing. I had told you, whenever you look at the ing form, it means it is the continuous tense. Okay, the action which is continuing. When we talk of the present tense, it is the action is continuing in the present. If we talk of the past tense, that means the action continued for some time in the past. Past continuous. So subject plus was or were plus verb plus ing. That means the children were playing in the park. Okay, now whenever we are practicing exercises related to the tenses, as I had told you while teaching the present tense, you need to be very careful about the number, the singular number and the plural number, right? So here the subject, the children, Children is plural, so we have used were. If you remember, in the present tense we had is or are. I'll be just going back as to what we have learned so that you are connected with the topic. So for the present continuous tense it was is or are plus ing. The children are playing. That means now the children are playing. But the past tense of are is were. So since we are talking of some action which continued in the past, okay, so the children were playing in the park, okay, verb plus ing form. Okay, so whenever you see the ing form, it means it is the continuous tense and it talks about some action, either if it is going on or it continued for some time in the past or it is going to continue for some time in the future. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Subject plus was or were plus verb plus ing. So you have to use was with the singular verb. I was doing my homework in the morning. That means I was singular, so I was continuing doing my homework in the morning. That means my action continued for some time in the morning. Right, now the past perfect. Okay, again here subject plus had plus third form of the verb. Okay, for example, he had written a letter. Okay, now if we remember the present perfect, he has written a letter. Okay, now had is the past tense of have. Okay, or has, have. Okay, the present tense and the past tense for both would be, as I had told you, had, and written is the third form of the verb write. Write, wrote, written. So whenever you are using the perfect, whether it is the present perfect, whether it is the past perfect or future perfect. So in all the perfect means complete, the action which has been which is complete, which has been completed. So you will use the third form of the verb. Like in the example here, he had written a letter. Now past perfect continuous. Here subject plus had plus been plus ing form of the verb. Okay, past perfect continuous. We know that past perfect means the action completed in the past. Now past perfect continuous means the action which was completed in the past and continued at that time. Okay, so had we already used for past perfect had. So past perfect had plus, since it continued at that point of time, so been plus ing form, continuous. They had been, for example, let us take this example. They had been building this bridge since 1985. Okay, so look at the had, the past perfect, been building, past perfect continuous. Okay, now here since 1985. That means the process of the construction of the bridge took place for some time in the past. It continued for some time in the past. So, the past perfect continuous tense. Now children, let's learn one important fact regarding the use of since and for. We had used since here, so since and for. You need to remember they are the prepositions. Okay. Now since 1985, since Monday, okay, or maybe since 1947. Okay, and for, maybe you can say 2 days, for a week. So since is for a point of time and for is a period of time. Okay, for example, when you write a leave application, you write, I have been suffering from fever since last night. That means a point of time, since 1947. From that point it started, since Monday. Okay, now for you use for a period of time, for 2 days. I will not be able to attend my class for 2 days. Okay, for a week. You are mentioning a particular period. I hope children the use of since and for is clear to you. Now let's learn something more about the different forms of the past tense, and then we can also practice some exercises. And children, as I told you, you will learn more about any grammar topic once you practice more exercises. So practicing is very important and learning through usage is very important. Okay, so you need to have a grammar book with you which has got lot of exercises for practice. These days you get lot of books, and once you start going to school and once the libraries are accessible to you, you can get lot of books for practice. And even you can go online. Online lot of worksheets are there for you to practice. So the more you practice, okay, you keep learning about the usage. It becomes clear to you. If you don't practice and you just focus on the rules or the forms, maybe you don't remember them. You forget it soon. Once you try to focus, and many a times what you people try to do is you try to mug up the rules. You should never do that. What is a tense? What are the different forms of tense? And you also try to mug up the forms, verb forms, or the formulas which we use for different forms of the tense. So you should never do that. You should understand them very clearly and then focus on the exercises. Okay, that is why in your grammar section you have lot of exercises related to the different grammar topics like close passage, gap filling, editing. Okay, and then you also have, when I'm talking about the tense, you have dialogue writing and you also have reporting dialogues. So you need to be very clear about the use of tenses while you're reporting a dialogue. Okay, so we will be doing that also in our classes ahead, the different grammar topics and the exercises related to them. So now let's try to understand more about the different forms of the past tense. Now look at your screen very carefully. The past tense. As we can understand from the name, the verbs in the past tense are used to indicate an action, event or condition that has happened in the past. Okay, each tense has 4 aspects that talks about the completion of the event or action, and based on that we have 4 types of past tense verbs that we just looked at. The simple past tense, past continuous, past perfect and the past perfect continuous. Now let's look at the simple past tense. We try to look at the formula on the board right now. Now the simple past tense is used to indicate or describe something that happened or existed in the past. The situations or conditions to use a simple past tense is to describe an action, event or condition that occurred in the past or at a specific time. Refer or describe to an action that has been completed and there is no time mentioned. Okay, the time is not mentioned, but it says that some action was completed in the past. Okay, then to describe past habits. Okay, in the present tense, we said that the simple present is used to describe the habitual actions in the present, but the past, it will talk about the past habits. Okay, like I used to ride a bicycle to school when I was in class 5th, or I rode a bicycle to the school when I was in class 5th. Okay, now the continuous tense, the past continuous tense. Past continuous tense is used to indicate an ongoing event in the past, ongoing or continuing, some action which continued for some time in the past. Some other conditions for the usage of the past continuous are to show that someone is in the middle of an action. Middle means it is going on. It is like, for example, I was calling him when he came home. I was calling him over the phone. My action was going on when he came home. Came is the simple past tense. Okay, so my action was going on, present continuous, and the simple past is used to describe an action taking place when another occurred. For example, while they were painting the door, I was painting the windows. Okay, one action going on and another taking place. Okay, while painting was going on, painting of the door, painting of the windows was also going on. Okay, now it is also described for an action that was taking place in the past when an interrupted action happened. For example, while he was working on his laptop, he fell asleep. That means he was doing something while another action happened. So we had used the past continuous. Okay, now the past perfect tense. The past perfect tense in a sentence or conversation describes an event that happened in the past before another event in the simple past tense was completed in the past. Okay, the situation where a past perfect tense is used are to indicate an event that has occurred and been completed in the past. Okay, some action that has been completed in the past. For example, Rashmi had borrowed money from the bank to buy her new car. She had borrowed. Had plus third form of the verb. Borrow, borrowed, borrowed. Okay, so action that completed, that means she had borrowed. In the past, that action was completed, past perfect. And to describe an event or action which happened before a definite time in the past. For example, we had cleaned up the terrace before the watchman arrived. Okay, so before one action could happen, one action happened. We had cleaned up the terrace. So that action happened first before the watchman arrived. So the watchman arrived afterwards. That means the sentence has got two actions. They cleaned up the terrace and the second is the watchman arrived. Okay, so which one took place first? First they cleaned up. That is why had plus third form. We had cleaned up the terrace. That action took place first, so that is the past perfect, had plus third form. And then the watchman arrived later, so there the simple past tense is there, before the watchman arrived. Okay, I hope this is clear. In the past perfect tense, you please remember, when there are two actions in one sentence, the first action would be the past perfect, and that will have the had plus third form, and the second action will be the simple past tense. Okay, so whenever you are doing exercises related to editing or gap filling, you need to remember this. Okay, now look at the example. We had reached their house after the dinner was over. Okay, to describe an action that happened in the past before another action took place. Again, we had reached their house after the dinner was over. So which action took place first? The dinner was over, but we had reached after. Okay, we had reached their house after the dinner was over. They finished their dinner, so, and then we had reached. Okay, so I hope the past perfect tense is clear to you. Now let's move on to the past perfect continuous tense. Okay, past perfect. Perfect means action was completed and then still it continued for some time in the past. Okay, you need to understand each form very clearly. Now this tense is used to describe actions that were going on in the past up until another action in the past happened. Okay, it continued for some time in the past till the next action happened. It is also used for an action that began before a certain point in the past and continued up to that time. Okay, began in the past at some point and then continued up to that time. Okay, look at the example. When Mr. Sharma came to the school in 1995, Mr. Anand had already been teaching there for 5 years. Okay, so here some action continued for some time in the past. Okay, here look at the example carefully. Mr. Anand had already been teaching there for 5 years, and then Mr. Sharma came there in 1995. Okay, so some action which began and continued for some time in the past. Had plus been plus ing form. Had been teaching there for 5 years. Okay, I hope all the 4 different forms of the past tense are clear to you, and also the different forms of verbs which we would be using with them. Now children, please look at the board. I was. He was. She was. It was. Okay, now you, they, you were, okay, we, okay, the plural. So you need to remember this, because most of the time you make mistakes. You write, sometimes you write I were, if I were, of course you make mistakes in the use of was and were in the past tense. Okay, sometimes you write he were, and sometimes you write they was, you was. Okay, so you have to be very clear about the use of was and were. Again, here the singular and here the plural. Okay, and of course you have to practice while we are learning the tenses the 3 forms of the verb as I told you. Okay, it's the first form, the second form and the third form. Okay. For example, the present, the past, and the past participle or the third form. Okay. So you all must be having a grammar book with you. As I told you, you must keep looking for exercises and also for these kind of words, the different forms of the verbs, the adjectives, the nouns, the prepositions. Okay, how are adjectives formed? Okay, the words related to prepositions, words followed by prepositions, that is very important for you in doing the exercises. For example, as I was telling you, see, saw, seen, give, gave, given. Okay, call, called, called. Okay, so like this you need to learn a lot of words with all their three forms, because when you have to see errors related to tense, when you have to do gap filling related to the tense, then you need to know all the three forms. Many times when I say the second form, the third form and the first form, now every time when we are practicing more exercises, I will be using the term the first form, the second form and the third form. Okay, so you need to have in store and learn the three forms of the verbs. Verb is an action or any work done by us during different time, as tense tells us about the time. Now when I say the third form, you should know what is the third form of a particular verb. The second form. Okay, first form of course you all are aware about, right? Now I have some exercises for you related to the past tense and its different forms. So let us now look at the exercise. Please look at the question carefully on your screen. A plumber blank to our house yesterday. Okay, as I have been telling you to read the whole sentence with the blank. Okay, now here the verbs are given in the bracket. Okay, but maybe many a times you are not getting the verbs and you have to find out what is the error. For example, if you are doing the editing part and if you are writing a dialogue, you should maintain the tense that has been given in the dialogue. Now here I will be helping you in solving these exercises that is related only to the tense, and then maybe you can look into your grammar book for more exercises and practice them. As I told you, I am dealing with each tense separately in different classes so that you understand the concept very clearly and you are confident enough to use them or do the exercises related to tense. You find them easy. You don't find grammar as a burden. Okay. Now, a plumber, there's a blank, to our house yesterday. So yesterday means it's a simple past tense. Okay, some action that has happened in the past, simple past, yesterday. Okay, so what are we going to use here? Come, this is the first form. The second form would be came. So a plumber came to our house yesterday. It is a simple past tense. Okay, he, there's a blank, to repair our washing machine, that a few days before. Here there are two verbs, one is want and the other is break. And you can see there are two actions here. So you have to use the past perfect and the simple past. Okay, now when we had learnt about the past perfect, the first action would be the past perfect. For example, what are the two actions here? Somebody came to repair the washing machine, that is one action, and the other action is the machine was not working. Okay, something had happened to the machine. So which action took place first? Something happened to the machine, that is why a person came to repair it, isn't it? So that is the second action. So the first action is the past perfect, that happened first. Okay, so the person came to repair it afterwards. So the second action will be the simple past tense. He wanted to repair our washing machine that had broken. Had plus third form. Had broken a few days before. Now children, there are some more exercises on your screen related to the past tense. I had just helped you to solve the first two, to help you out to learn how you have to solve and what are the points you need to keep in mind. Okay, so I hope you will solve the remaining exercises and we will discuss the answers in the next class. So see you in the next class with something more about tenses. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay at home.